how has technology changed in insurance sector?
Insurance industry has seen a significant change and transformation in terms of not only how technology and digital is being used to acquire and find new markets, but also how to process internally.
So how are global insurance companies out there or markets out there approaching AI?
They are known for underwriting complex insurance, being it marine, aviation, political risk.
Any challenges you've seen with AI?
The rate of adoption of AI has been more constrained by the organization legacy preparedness than by the promise that AI delivers.
When it comes to insurance, why trust becomes very important is when you need an insurance.
Is it easy for you to access the data from other banks?
What the entire banking stack has done, what the entire account aggregation stack has done, it is a permission-based architecture.
Manu mentioned that 99.8% of claims. So when people are getting their claims, it builds a trust. But why they are getting the claim?
India has one of the lowest insurance penetration rates in the world, under 4% of GDP. That means the vast majority of this country faces its most catastrophic moments: a death, a diagnosis, a disaster, without a financial safety net. Meanwhile, artificial intelligence is doing something that decades of agents, ads and awareness drives couldn't. It is reaching where people are, speaking their language, and making insurance make sense. Today, the man who runs operations for one of India's leading life insurance companies sits across from one of India's sharpest minds on enterprise AI. And they're both trying to answer the same question. Can technology finally close India's protection gap? This is TOI AIQ Talks. I am Sonia Singh and you're watching TOI AIQ Talks. Every conversation in this series is a build-up to the main event this September, the TOI AI Quotient Awards, India's foremost recognition platform for the enterprises, startups and leaders who are turning AI into real measurable results. We meet the clients, we ask the hard questions, and today we are in one of India's most consequential industries, insurance. Our guest today has spent his career at the intersection of insurance, technology and large-scale operations. He is the Chief Operating Officer of Axis Max Life Insurance, one of India's leading private life insurers, and the person responsible for ensuring that when a policy is promised, it is delivered at scale, with precision and with the customer at the center. Manu Lavanya, welcome to TOI AIQ Talks.
Thank you, Sonia. Thank you for having me on the show, and it's really a pleasure to talk to you and all the viewers around the fantastic transformation that is happening in our industry.
Looking forward. And alongside us today as our knowledge partner is someone I bring in when I want to separate AI signal from AI noise, co-founder and CEO of ADROSONIC. Mayank, welcome.
Thank you, Sonia. I'm really looking forward to this discussion as insurance is something where we operate mostly. So really excited to be here with Manu.
Great. Insurance is a product most people buy hoping they will never have to use it. Today, I want to ask whether AI is changing that paradox, whether it can make the coverage wider, the experience faster, and the promise of protection finally reach the people who need it most. This is a question at the center of everything we will discuss. Let's get into it. Manu, 40 lakh customers. And over the past 20 years, how have you seen this industry evolve? The regulations, the fundamental shift, where has the real growth come from?
When the insurance industry got privatized, Sonia, this was back in 2000. I would say the first decade from 2000 to 2010 was a time when primarily the focus was on endowment products. It was a product-led industry, money-back guarantees. And that's how the industry evolved for 10 years. Later after a decade, bank insurance as a distribution channel came up. As we progressed as an industry, we started shifting towards market-linked products. Then the question was that, hey, not only it's just not about wealth accumulation, it's all about wealth creation, participating in the markets that give potentially slightly higher growths. And then came in the second half of the decade of 2010 to 2020 came the whole idea of expansion of term insurance. See, the lives evolved, the needs evolved. People said that, you know what, not just endowment, I also need inputs around securing life. Term insurance became a proposition. And along with that came this whole idea of digital selling, right? So the e-commerce as a channel evolved in the second half of last decade, primarily driven by changes in technology, primarily driven by the fact that e-commerce, as it penetrated other sectors in the industry, other industries, it also penetrated insurance. There were aggregators that came up. And then slowly you find that the consumers had a much broader choice of accessing insurance products through not only the physical channels around advisors, but also with bank assurance channels evolving, with digital channels evolving, digital aggregators coming into place. And hence you saw in the last decade, the portfolio of channels and omni-channel experience that the customers were able to get around life insurance products expanded significantly. Also along with that came with the idea of product variety. Initially people worried that, hey, if I'm not there, what will happen? Then the worry became, if I'm there, what will happen? So slowly the shift started from just protecting for mortality to a long-term investment strategy, a long-term protection strategy, accumulation strategy, annuity, pensions, with obviously with the large population, reaching an age where they would need future savings beyond their work life to feel secure. That became a very strong value proposition. Those are the shifts that have happened in this industry. And obviously, this has been layered significantly in the last 10 years with digital, AI, data. That's really driving transformation in the whole experience of how consumers really look at buying insurance.
And you spoke about how people evolved, and I would say how India evolved after COVID. Did COVID also change some perception towards insurance, maybe health or term or
That's a
financial
great
planning?
question. That's a great question, Sonia. See, COVID had a very interesting quote unquote learning, both for the insurers as well as for the consumers. One, when such a catastrophe happens, when people see a lot of strife, a lot of loss so close to their lives, it's a very natural tendency to rethink the strategy of financial security in case of a morbidity event. So we did see the term insurance as a product did get an uplift after COVID for sure. But then that whole period of COVID also put us demand on the insurers saying we need more empathy. We need more quicker processing of claims. The regulator also had some beautiful inputs in terms of how our disposition towards claims should change in the advent of what happened in COVID. The need for automation increased, the need for evaluating lives during the COVID period. It actually also pushed the insurers to build smarter underwriting platforms so that they can actually do the right selection at source. So a lot of impact, not only on the demand side, but also on the preparedness of the insurers to make sure they service, onboard, underwrite, and finally keep the promise as well in a very efficient manner. So it had an impact on both the sides.
So the digital infrastructure was, it was pre-COVID and post-COVID. I mean, that kind of a difference we've seen in India. Now, talking about technology, and since that is the core of insurance industry now, and you've been from IIT, from ISB, and you've had your own startup, which was about the AI. So how has technology changed in insurance sector? And what was the actual state when you entered this industry and now?
See, like any other industry that is seeing a massive transformation around digital AI and data. See, AI is definitely last a 3-4 year phenomenon, but if I broadly include digital data analytics into it, insurance industry has seen a significant change and transformation in terms of not only how technology and digital is being used to acquire and find new markets, but also how to process internally. So at one end, AI is and technology and digital first have made the buying experience extremely smooth. The birth of aggregators, the birth of pure online journeys to buy insurance, a product that was pretty much a in-person sale product till about a decade ago. Now you see e-commerce as a platform actually adding maximum number of customers. At least in our case, maximum NOPs, the number of policies that got added last year, were actually in the e-com sector, right? So you see a massive transformation in how people are purchasing. One. Two, AI and technology is also trying to change how that particular policy is onboarded and serviced. The whole idea of AI-based underwriting, fraud detection using AI, the idea of smart collections. I don't recall somebody who will quote unquote pay automatically. Only need to call people who I believe through from forecast analytics data, where they may not pay unless somebody calls them, right? How do they figure that cohorts out? How do we make sure when we look at customer servicing, can I predict the intent of somebody calling me the moment the call arrives?
So you analyze that voice data?
Absolutely, yes, we do. In fact, all our voices come, we converted voice to text. We analyze the intents, we analyze the sentiment. We try to figure out, you know what, in this collection call, we thought that the person was saying yes, he or she would pay the premium, but the voice was not convincing. So we fear that the premium may not come.
Okay.
Right? Unless the customer is requested.
That can be wrong also.
See, it's a prediction of an intent. What we do is we change our strategy post that of collection, for example, based on what we see in the intent. Where is very useful. See, sometimes even a business acquisition, selling, we have for the first, actually in Axis Max Live, we are trying for the first time acquisition through a bot.
Okay.
The bots are so advanced today, Sonia, that I've had customers being talked to that, hey, I want to buy a policy, and the bot would be chatting. Why do you need a policy? What does it need? People have shared their life stories, they've shared their relationship stories, they've shared their personal things with a bot in a 8, 10, 12-minute conversation, not realizing that it's a bot that they are speaking to.
So you must make money from that also. Okay, we'll give you companion or like a talking time. So pay us for that.
I think that's very critical for us to just make sure that we're able to understand through technology the right intent, and I think and the technology is evolving every single day as we speak.
So you talk about onboarding, which is automation now. What is the percentage of self-service business transactions? Any 3-year roadmap also for that?
Absolutely, yes.
Any percentages? Yeah.
Sure. So let me give you percentages based on, first of all, onboarding. 99.92% of policies are onboarded digitally. Pretty much everything. Right. First. Second, once these policies are applied, when I started the journey with Axis Max Life 6 years ago, about 46 to 47% of the retail policies would actually be what I call straight through processed. That number from about 46% 5 years ago, 6 years ago, is now almost 86, 87%. That's for retail. Protection, glad to share that with Axis Max Life pretty much has been the first life insurer there that tried to do the same for term policies where you do a medical as well. The industry typically does almost no straight-through processing for medical cases. We have reached a number of 32%. We started this journey last year and a half ago. Our intent is to take it to as high as 55 to 60% in this year, so that we are able to drive that automation even in term selling. So the big change that has happened there. Servicing. We started 6 years ago, about 99% of our servicing could happen in 14 days. Today, about 87% happens in 48 hours. Right. So all these numbers just show one thing, that when we applied digital and technology to automation, technologies has always come to the rescue for reducing TATs, for reducing the grievance rates, for driving customer experience. And because of this intervention, our NPS, we have actually measured something called the Net Promoter Score for all our customers. This year, we have had the highest ever NPS that we have had since inception. And it's almost 62, 63. And that's anything above 60 is considered to be a great NPS number. And now our transaction NPS is actually touching almost 70. So that's and all the change driven by technology as a part of our process.
So you're talking about a 91 or 91.8 some percent you said are doing it digitally.
99.8.
99.82.
Yeah.
Okay. So the rest ones, are those ones who don't believe in doing things digitally and they want to actually once they have to shell money out of their pockets, they want to meet someone, they want to ensure that I'm buying the right thing, I'm not being, scammed, or, something might not really turn out the way it has been promised to me.
So when I say digital onboarding, I really mean that the documents and the process of onboarding is digitally.
Okay.
Right? When I look at how many people are buying policy online digitally, right? That's approximately 26-27% of our number of policies are through the digital channel.
Okay.
But the onboarding is digital for pretty much everybody on
Okay.
board, right? So I'm talking about acquisition, 26% purely digital, processing everything digital, right? People who do not use the digital channels, purely channels, see, India is a very vast country and a very diverse country in terms of consumer choices. In India, you have a urban India that is becoming more and more comfortable with driving online purchasing. They don't need to seek in-person presence for trust. And they can use the online platforms and the brand as a surrogate for the trust that they need to buy an insurance product. But that's still urban and semi-urban. When I look at Bharat, which is a big part of India, that belief in, hey, I don't need any human being, still has to be built up. Even in urban India, you find consumers where they definitely need a person, a face in the front, before you give somebody a check of 1 lakh rupees or 2 lakh rupees for a premium, right? I don't believe our consumer persona will ever become one where everybody in India only buys digitally. It will always be a hybrid strategy. There will always be this gradation of choice on whether I want to buy digitally or offline. Many people, what they've done is they have chosen to compare online and still buy offline. Right?
Yeah.
So while we see this shift towards e-commerce, but I don't foresee a world where insurance acquisition will only be done digitally. It'll always be a hybrid.
So have you been increasing the touch points also?
Absolutely, yes, right? So when we look at the channels through which we reach out to our customers, aggregators, bank assurance channels, besides our proprietary, even in proprietary, we have direct sales force where we are trying to build our own sales force who directly reach out to customers who have had, for example, an applied agent. So there are multiple touch points. There are also insurance as an embedded offering coming in other platforms. Today, when you go to Paytm, when you go to bank applications, when you go to other providers, insurance as an embedded product is also becoming a main strategy because that's when you can expand the reach digitally without a physical distribution in place, right? And you can ride on the success of existing partners, ecosystem platforms. So insurance is truly becoming an ecosystem play rather than just a proprietary agency-driven sort of a distribution setup.
When you say this ecosystem play, which means that, okay, if I'm using other apps or other payment apps or, and my data is going to other places, maybe even for Book My Show. So all that is being, one can make out about my choices and my nature and my behavior and my financial condition, and then offer me products off and on. And the AI thing working on this, can this give you newer markets and newer customers?
Absolutely. In fact, when I look at insurance as an embedded product, Sonia, when I come at a platform where insurance is embedded inside, for example, let's take a classic example of the easiest, most prevalent app, which is, let's say, a banking app. Somebody comes to Axis Bank for a transaction. Now, in the bank experience, and there's one big difference in how people interact with bank applications and how they interact with insurance. The bank, they almost see it every 2 days, every day.
Yeah.
If you install an insurance app, you would not see that app every single day. You would see either when a premium is due or when a new product purchase is required.
Or maybe delete it after some time because it's taking too much battery for my mobile and use it again when needed.
Yeah, there are solves for that as well that have come in. See, those technologies also have evolved significantly. But more important, most importantly, when I look at that journey within the bank app ecosystem, yes, as the person is navigating through the bank services, yes, we have a lot of wealth of information that can be leveraged and is leveraged to figure out what is the right proposal. So there's something called, very interesting concept called PASA, pre-approved, sum assured.
Okay.
Which means based on your bank, based on your relationship with the bank, based on your account statements, based on the relationship we have today, I have a pre-approved offer for you that does not require anything, right? That has become a big source of growth for us because when you embed these offerings in these ecosystem platforms, you are actually pre-preparing an offer based on the consumer data, the behavior, the purchase history, and so on and so forth, the interaction history, that, hey, this is already approved for you, just go ahead and buy.
But this PASA can also lead to frauds. Maybe, I mean, do you have some fraud examples with you would like to hear
Absolutely.
about them?
See, while PASA itself does not lead to fraud because there are many checks, and the banks have also got very healthy relationships, right? Because they do a lot of underwriting, as for example, when they increase the financial relationship with the customers. But I can give you some great examples around fraud. Okay. And that's where technology has really come to bear to help all the insurers. See, this is an industry also that has got mis-selling and fraud as two big challenges to deal with. And when I say fraud, let's take an example of the most common fraud done in insurance, especially in life insurance, is taking policy on a diseased life already. Data impersonation.
That's awesome.
Absolutely, when people have tried, and now people have become smarter, and so have the systems. Then you have AI come in to do today what we call as liveness checks. For example, in the erstwhile world, a photograph was required for a proposal form, but you wouldn't require a video. In the last 5 years, everybody shifted to what we call as video verification. In video also, there's something called liveliness checks. In photo, there is something called liveliness checks. Somebody is not impersonating, sitting behind. Somebody is not prompting. Is the photograph taken and or the video taken with the right light conditions? And for example, now we have intelligent tools when they are taking the video. Let's say somebody is applying for a 5 lakh policy, and in the video you see that the background is of a dilapidated house, right, or a rural hut, right, prevents that fraud. So just last year alone, AI and tech have prevented about 270 crores of sum assured leak out because of these fraud prevention checks. Another example of fraud prevention, medical diagnostics. See, a big part of decision in underwriting is when you do medical tests and medical checks. In India, sometimes it becomes possible to influence the last mile medical test provider. Hey, you know what? Just don't mention this, don't mention that. We have built a great AI tool which actually scores all the diagnostic centers on the veracity of the data. Quick example, we know the standard value of sugar for HbA1c is 6.0. If you see that center is consistently giving data around 6.0, now that which is not reflective of the distribution that I see in India and in those geographies, in that cohort of male versus female, then I know, hey, you know what, these data are unreal. We flag those centers. The first year we launched this 3 years ago, we delisted 730 centers. We delisted that. We share this information with the industry. There's a platform called IIB Insurance Database that we share the data. We blacklisted those diagnostic centers. Again, only possible through AI. So fraud prevention, one of the biggest help that we have got through technology intervention is impersonation prevention, medical data fraud prevention, financial document fraud prevention. We actually pay 99.8% of our claims, one of the highest in the industry, and we have been leaders in that for the last 5 years. And
That's
the only yeah,
99.8 is a huge number. I mean, it's like pretty much close, yeah.
Yes, and the only reason why that 0.2 remains is because of fraud or non-disclosures.
So on valid one, it's basically 100%.
Absolutely. So, and the whole intent is that the technology should let us judge every single policy in upfront itself, so that we don't have to decline it later. Well,
Before I get Mayank in, one last question about this, that maybe let's small thing about health insurance.
yes.
For example, now you have these annual tests going on. Maybe I go to a Max hospital and do it, or maybe I go to a Medanta and do it, or maybe next time I go to Apollo and do it. So all these data, or maybe the variables, or maybe by my behavioral data, all that can be mapped on?
Yes. So it's a journey that's underway. And then let me touch upon something called the Bharat Stack. See, what the government has done beautifully over the last decade is tried to create a very, very self-sufficient data infrastructure for our citizens. If the journey started with Aadhaar, then slowly you had the tax documents coming online. Slowly you had the land record reforms are happening, and the land records are coming online.
That must be helping with underwriting.
Absolutely, right? So what's happening, and so is health, right? Now with Ayushman Bharat, the amount of data that is now getting captured for health is just exploding. And all this data is actually feeding into how we judge morbidity and mortality at the time of application. So this is exploding with the entire what we call as Bharat Stack. And we do believe that as this progresses, our ability to underwrite not only for mortality, but also on morbidity increases. One. Two, there are product designs that we have already started making where I can link the number of steps, I can link how the health profile of an individual is maintained with the typical returns of the bonuses that a person get in a policy, in a life insurance policy. So we already have some of those examples of combi products where it's wellness and the whole idea of wellness and health keeping joined up with a life proposition. We are only seeing some of those designs in place. So yes, I do believe that as we go forward, wellness will play a big role in terms of conjoining with life as a proposition.
And we'll talk about insurance for all in 2047. But before that, let me get Mayank in. Mayank, you've been advising a lot of companies across the sectors now on AI adoption. So what do you think about insurance? Is it ahead of its AI curve?
No, when I advise insurance, I see this very fascinating because ultimately, when you look at AI, what it does, it analyzes data, it interprets, a lot of things people are talking about. But historically, in insurance is the industry where it has always been the case. No, keep technology aside, but when an underwriter underwrites, what they do, they look at the data, they look at the risk, and then they predict, right? So whole aspect, the concept on which AI is based is already traditionally there. So on that front, I will say the thought process, it's already, applying and it's already ahead, and what many points that Manu mentioned. But on the other side, when you look insurance as a wider aspect, it is a heavily regulated industry. And there are a lot of aspect that comes on the terms of trust. People buy insurance on the base of trust, and we also have to protect the fraud aspect, because there is a financial obligation on insurance companies when there is a claim.
Yeah.
So it cannot move that at that fast pace as compared to other consumer industries, because ultimately you need that human judgment before you issue a policy, and the more complex the insurance is, the more human judgment is required. So I will say that it is moving at a space that it can, and it is very much, there are a lot of processes where it can bring a lot of efficiency. What Manu said, that for example customer onboarding, or when you're processing a claim, and which can ultimately enhance that trust aspect. So my answer will be that there is a well balance. When I look at insurance, AI can be implemented in a very well balanced way in this industry.
But taking your London experience, you've been guiding a lot of companies there also extensively, actually. So how are global insurance, companies out there or markets out there approaching AI?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, we work with a lot of London market insurance providers, ranging it, being it underwriters or brokers or MGAs and carriers. What I if you look at the the Indian context here, it's all about the scale. There is a huge market, untapped market, and millions of hundreds of millions of customers where we want to be protected. As you say that around 2.8% you
Is
quoted
penetration, yes.
is the, and so there's so much to tap. So India, no, that is one thing that we know how to operate at a scale by using data where AI can help us in terms of processing. When I look at London market, they are known for underwriting complex insurance, being it marine, aviation, political risks. These are highly complicated and complex in nature. It requires a lot of governance checkpoints. But where AI is playing an interesting role is that now, even though for those complex scenarios, AI can process the data. And what you mentioned, like, AI underwriters, assistant, not underwriter, but assistant. So what I mean by assistant is that when an underwriter is, say, underwriting a complex marine insurance, earlier they have to go through all the checks, all the points, and say the operator is from a Latin American country and they want to get insurance in London market. They will send you all the documents in Portuguese or maybe Spanish. It takes a lot of time to translate in the old days. Now with AI, it can immediately get translated. You can collate all the information and give you the summary. Based on that summary, this is that you are acting as an assistant. An underwriter can underwrite that. So it is increasing the speed of the overall process. So I see a balance where both the countries can learn, or both the highly mature market can learn, is to scale with the help of AI. And what India can learn is, how we can get that kind of governance experience when we are penetrating. We also have to be mindful of, fraud protection and all. So we need that governance and give our customers one of the best experience so that the trust goes up. So it's a learning that is there from for both India, from that India can learn from how the London market operates, and London market can learn from how India is operating in terms of scale.
In terms of scale, apart from other things, even trust and
Yeah.
those enormous volumes, is it just specifically to insurance, or maybe your experience is across all sectors?
Uh, so the problem is almost same when you look at across all the sector. But when it comes to insurance, why trust becomes very important is when you need an insurance, when you have some, say, in case of life, when you're not there. What is the status of your family that they are going through, their mindset, or you are in a hospital and you need a claim, or even in big, say, there is a claim in marines, it can go into hundreds of millions. So at that time only that you are into claim process and what kind of experience you are getting. So if this is the industry which is the trust is the most important aspect, and the relationship, because any segment of insurance, if you see, majority of the business is on renewals. You get repeat business. The acquisition of new business is always lower the more complex insurance you get. If the majority of the you work on the renewal, and why renewal comes into picture is because of the trust. Manu mentioned that 99.8% of claims. So when people are getting their claims, don't it builds the trust. But why they are getting the claim? Because the underwriting have been done, details have been captured. There are preventive mechanism in place to prevent fraud before you underwrite. Right? So that's where the trust is the key element, and AI is only going to, if we use it in a right way, it is going to enhance the trust, and it is going to give you the speed. I'm in a hospital, I need some claim. I now need not to wait for 4 hours for my TPA to call me back. I just raise it, and because of the AI, it got the first notification of claim, it quickly validated, and it authorized my hospital, and I am in. So that 4 hour of anxiety is saved because we have used AI into the claims processing.
So speed matters here.
Speed matter, and this is giving you the trust, right? But if you are not using the data appropriately and not using the human judgment, the same trust breaks as well. That's why that governance come into place and human come into place. So it's well said that it's the augmentation of how AI and human comes together to enhance the trust, and that is what should be the objective.
So how do you keep the data safe? I mean, it's
That's a great
humongous
question.
data actually.
See, insurance companies as what we call as fiduciaries of PII data. They have a massive role to play in terms of ensuring that the trust is not only in the product and the offering and the promise, which is the claims, but also the trust is in keeping our data secure for our customers. There are significant regulations that the government has come out with, like the DPTP Act, Data Privacy and Data Protection Act, which puts very onerous requirements on insurers to ensure that our PI data is safe. For example, we're right now implementing consent management, where whenever a customer data is captured, be it at the proposal stage, be it at the policy stage, we are taking consent from the customer that, are you okay with us storing this data? If so, for how much time? A customer come back and say after 2 years, hey, stop, I'm not willing to share this data with you anymore, right? Two, there are significant decisions even around things like outsourcing, Sonia, that we are trying to take, that, hey, why do we need to outsource certain critical processes that require customer data to be interchanged with our partners? Because most of the times we have seen that the risk of data leakage does not really happen within the enterprise. It happens at the periphery, the boundaries, or with our partners, right? Then we are taking some strategic calls that, hey, do we need to do everything through outsourcing, or do we need to insource some of the key strategic processes to make sure data stays with us? That's the whole idea. We call it data gravity. The data needs to have more gravity today than it had earlier because we need the data to stay with us.
Did you ever have complaints about data being misused?
So we have had customers coming back to saying, for example, phishing calls, spurious data, right? People may not have a data issue, but somebody is trying to fish information from them, right? And this I see across services, across industries.
One can't really pinpoint where that data came from. I mean, who gave it? Who
Exactly.
sold it?
And hence the regulator is now becoming very, very tight on disclosures, on planning, infrastructure required to safeguard data, even a strategy around cloud, right? How do we fortify our data through right use of cloud, our backup strategies? What do we do in case of a data event? So all those are very well prescribed today. And I must compliment the regulator that they have put a fairly onerous asks on the industry to ensure that our customer data is indeed safe.
Right. And any challenges you've seen with AI, as in you had this speech AI and vision AI, and you have this chatbots, who are
Yes.
really helping you. But any challenges also?
Huge challenges. Huge challenges.
Really?
Yes.
Would love to hear them.
See, AI is a tool which came first before the remedy. Okay. When AI, we see, so I'll separate the world of AI and Gen AI separately, right? Because what we're talking about is more Gen AI and its impact. The first part, everybody wanted to do AI. But the first biggest challenge was the enterprises never stored and architected their databases, their core technology stacks, that 10 years later somebody will run AI on it. The first challenge was, how do we get the data in the form and shape that we can even do AI? That's problem number one. The rate of adoption of AI has been more constrained by the organization legacy preparedness than by the promise that AI delivers. Okay. Or core implementing AI. That is easy. What is more difficult is getting the organization's landscape, technology, data to be ready to adopt AI. That's challenge number one. Challenge number two, skill. Everybody wants to do AI, but there's so many people, only so many engineers. Now you figure out in the colleges, irrespective of which engineering stream people do, everybody would like to do AI, but still the demand far exceeds supply. There's a third advent which is happening, which is more societal with AI, and especially with Gen AI, that the lesser complex jobs are getting automated through Gen AI. When we talk about chatbot, when we talk about even no-code platforms, where the productivity of people is enhancing so significantly that a job that required 10 developers to get done earlier requires only one today. So there is a societal impact of AI as well in terms of how the jobs will transform and change. There are two clubs on here. Once it says there's doom and gloom, there will be so much of unemployment, there will be so many people losing jobs. I'm a little more of an optimist.
Okay.
I saw three big transitions in the last 20 years happening. The first was e-com in 2002, then the analytics and the data revolution that happened in 2009-10. Each time there was a fear that the world will change, job will go away. What happened was the jobs got morphed. The society transformed in terms of what it saw as valuable jobs. And I always tell my teams that I wish I'd done arts and not engineering. The issue is anything that is structural, that is algorithmic, can be coded, can be transformed. But something that is design, something that is experience, something that is more right brain, will stay as a forte of human beings. So what was a very left brain sort of a view? Yes, machine can only attack the left brain part of the value proposition, but from a right brain perspective, we still need humans to interact with the empathy, with the creativity, with the design. It's a very beautiful transition that will happen in jobs, where certain types of jobs will get automated, which will free up the time to create more valuable and more meaningful jobs.
Yeah, and that's true. What you were saying, Manu, like, even when the robotic process automation aspect came, there were a lot of discussion that, the whole business process outsourcing will go and it will be fully automated. But what we have seen is that those, like which we say, which are more repetitive, got automated, and people where same person got more productivity to do more. And then the other interesting aspect which you were highlighting, and I was just thinking of that, the AI landed before we were ready with our problems.
Yeah.
And interestingly, you saw some proof of concepts with a standard set of data. Now your data is perfectly
Yes.
settled in, and you saw some magic going on, and that magic prompted you that, okay, I want this to be implemented, without realizing that, but actually this is a POC data.
Correct.
Once you go into the live set, your data is not ready.
Absolutely.
And few firms which went into that production later and realized that, oh, we need to work on our setting the data right, setting the data quality right, and then going it backwards and making those changes. Yeah, and and then the organizations were then later on realized that, oh, our data set was not ready. And we are now live into production, but we are not getting the accurate result from the AI models. So we have to go back and fix our data.
Absolutely. So that's a great point, Mayank, because people sometimes believe that with the advent of Gen AI, you put it on and it will work the very first day. It won't. Somebody was telling me that training a bot is exactly like bringing up a child. For the first 4, 5, 6 months, you have to tell it, hey, don't do this, do that. That's a wrong response. The whole guardrails around what is acceptable, what is not acceptable evolves with time. And the true accuracy you really achieve after 5, 6 months of, sometimes, in case of complex transactions, of training something. While the go live can be very, very quick, right? So, especially when we are leveraging AI for consumer interactions. We can't afford a case where AI drifts, where AI hallucinates, where it says something inappropriate.
And then you lose a customer.
And then you lose a customer. There is a trust, there is a brand image involved. Understanding the nuance of, for example, satire. So these are some of the emotions that it's very difficult for the current AI to catch even today, right? Somebody once on a stream said, hey, I'm so pleased that you haven't even issued my policy in 15 days. And the question is, the bot doesn't know. Should it read it as a complaint? Should it read it as a negative or a positive sentiment? So we have to train the bot like a child to make it. So it requires deliberate intent. It requires patience. But most important, it requires us to capture data.
So now bot is a part of your team now?
Yes, absolutely. So in fact, so I am foreseeing in the next 2 to 3 years, Sonia, the definition of what we call as an org structure will actually undergo a change. At Access Max Live, I'm already trying to rewrite the job descriptions of many, many key roles in the organization. And then suddenly you'll have a team of 20 people, out of which 4 are actually bots. I don't see that future very, very far, right? Now, the question is, how do you drive accountability? A challenge, you were asking about the challenge of AI. One of the biggest challenges, how do you ensure that when an event happens, which was not intended, who takes the accountability? Is it the tech, digital and AI team that built the bot? Or is it the function leader who's owning the bot? Same problem as, hey, if an automated driven car hits somebody, who takes the fall? Is it the car manufacturer? Is it the driver or the owner of the car? So those are the questions that the organizations are grappling with today.
Yeah, and even Manu, in IT industry as well, when we are operating, like we are looking at every function. So when I look at the simple number quality engineering function, mainly the humans who are doing the testing.
Correct.
Now we are looking at augmenting one quality engineer with couple of agents.
Absolutely.
But at the end, if they do mistake and if the defect goes into production, who will take the accountability? it's the bot or it's the human. So that's there, the human judgment is very much. So it should be the right set of augmentation of how you are creating that and who will own the accountability that matters.
Absolutely.
So insurance for all is what we'll discuss now, and maybe Mayank, I'll start with you. Um, AI, I mean, okay, it can increase your numbers for maybe customers for insurance, but should AI be actually teaching people why, making them understand why insurance is more important, like especially
I
in
think
India?
that can be an excellent use case, especially from an Indian context. You can use AI to educate because insurance has its own language, its own terminology, and when you go and talk to say a person in a rural part of Bihar, as compared to someone in Kerala or a tier 2 citizen who is looking to get an insurance, so your language can't be same. But when an agent goes, you're selling a product, and then the person is just paying you money without realizing actually what it needs. So if you really want to, penetrate the market and the job, I think the job is not to how much insurance we can sell. The vision should be that how many people can get protected, from the during the worst scenario that may occur in their life. With that vision in place, AI can play a game changing role because you can go and talk to, using the AI, you can explain it in their context, and that is what, there are a lot of examples we were discussing, which Manu, I
Absolutely.
think
And
it will be
if
great
that
if you can share.
and if that happens, maybe that dream comes true. 2047 insurance for all.
See, I do believe one thing that reach across India will only be bolstered by what we're trying to do with technology and AI. Because vernacular,
Yeah.
most importantly, the economics of it. Sonia, what happens is that the ticket sizes and the affordability is all the biggest reason why you have low penetration in rural India is because of low affordability. If we have to solve the vision of insurance for all by 2047, we have to solve two problems. One, how do we make the bite-sized ticket that is affordable for the end consumers there? But then complementing that problem is that if the ticket size are smaller, how do you make sure the distribution costs and the distribution channels set up in a way that we can still service and distribute there without all the cost so that the business is profitable, right? That's where technology comes in. The technology, the digital interventions, the vernacularization, the digital platform selling, what we call as POS products selling, where it's a virtually zero underwriting, on the spot selling, automated underwriting, completely straightforward, straight processing. Those products will be required to be delivered possibly in a very vernacular and a digital, in a maybe a feature mobile platform, making it very easy for people to consume those products. And that's where the AI increases reach in rural. The second part is, as the data Bharat stack becomes more and more richer, as more and more public data gets onboarded into the government platforms, our ability to underwrite those lives sitting out there also increases significantly. And that's where analytics and data play a big role in terms of underwriting those lives. And last but not the least, see, the definition of rural also is changing. Sometimes you always assume that rural means low income. In our experience, we have not found that to be true always. Sometimes you've got a significant amount of wealth, a significant amount of prosperity, even in rural parts of India. The question is, do we have the right influencing ecosystem out there? Because typically people, it is still a trust-based sale. And people will need somebody trustworthy to become as a part of the network ecosystem to advise them, to really collaborate with them. So for example, the whole Anganwadi projects that are happening, they can become great carriers of that trust that is required to sell an insurance product in rural India. So these distribution channels will also evolve, enabled by the right digital technology in their hands, in their mobiles, so that we can drive that penetration better.
So let's do the honest take here. We're talking about low income group. Are you actually interested in the low income group? For example, I'll give you an instance where one of the mates, she said, we won't get the insurance done because last time this guy took 5,000 rupees from us and ran off, and I can't find him anywhere. Now that experience has made you feel that every insurance agent is a fraud. So how do you, this must be the story of a lot of people because they're being duped. Cash
So,
and weapons.
so what I will say, Sonia, is that mis-selling is definitely a challenge that this industry has to solve for, right? And typically it happens with any push product where there is, and where the distribution incentives are significant, there is a chance that the product may be missold. Right? What we're trying to do to how to solve it is, one, making sure, first of all, that everything is captured, verified. For example, can I do a three-way verification with the seller, the consumer, and us, so that we are able to verify that the consumer actually is interested in buying the right product. It is mandatory for us to do product fitment assessment before we can complete a sale. It is mandatory for us to do a point of sale verification once the sale is being made. Unless that verification is done, we don't issue the policy. So the industry is also improving its techniques of ensuring that cases like these do not happen. Also, what is happening is the regulator is also coming down heavily on the need for what we call as mis-sell grievances to go down. And they are really holding the insurance companies accountable that, hey, irrespective of which channel it went through, which process it went through, if there is a complaint from a consumer around mis-selling, please go and return the customer's money, right? Please address it immediately. So there's a big change even in the policy protection regulation that policyholder protection regulation that the regulator is driving up to curb this mis-selling, right?
So can we say that AI is also creating a win-win for insured person also?
Absolutely. See, I believe there is no win-win till it creates a better experience and an outcome for my customers, right? So what AI is doing, it is one, trying to ensure first that we onboard, the experience of onboarding is simpler. And that's being done through all the AI application towards choices, product choices, next best actions, the scripts the customers go through, the process of
Loading and all is easy?
through a camera, through your phones, right? In fact, you can now track your policy like this to do Amazon. It has got, hey, 5 years to go. Now your policy has reached underwriter. Now it has reached the education scan. The policy is issued. The physical pack will going to reach you so and so. It also gives you a predictive date saying that, hey, you know what? If this document is not uploaded by so and so time, then you know what? It'll be 2 days later, right? So we are trying to give that experience to the customers that you typically see in e-commerce, right?
Because I remember, those old policies, one would never actually take them out of the Almirah. And when you actually need them, you would look for them. Oh, where is it gone?
So all that is being simplified now. So there is technology that is being applied to ensure that the experience at each stage, onboarding, we're making it simpler to make sure that we underwrite without documents. So there's something called account aggregation, Sonia, where with the account aggregation as a framework, what the Ministry of Finance has really enabled, helped us. If you give me consent to access, so when you apply for a policy, if you choose to give me consent to access some of your financial information that may be with some other institutions, banks, so on and so forth, I don't need to ask any data from you. There's no document that I need from about 46% of my business today is issued where I do not seek any document.
But then is it easy for you to access the data from other banks?
Yes, it does, because see what the entire banking stack has done, what the entire account aggregation stack has done, it is a permission-based architecture where you give the permission that, hey, I'm okay sharing my A, B, C, D, E documents with the reinsurer, with the insurer, right? Once that consent is obtained, we automatically fetch that, our systems assimilate that, use that in the decisioning and issue the policy immediately. In fact, just to give you some numbers, as I said, for about 46% is no documents, 86% is straight through. Even in claims, the moment people submit claims, 68% of my claims that are which are non-early means they had not happened before 3 years of policy issuance. They have happened after 3 years of policy issuance. 68% are paid off within 3 hours. 3 hours, yes. I pay the flight and they are paid off. Why? Because of the underwriting, the data that we capture at the underwriting stage, all the checks that we do through technology at the point of onboarding a policy. So yes, it is really creating a difference for our customers. Yes.
Yeah, and of course, building trust, which is very important,
Absolutely.
especially in insurance companies. So you've spoken about how AI has taken a very dominant role in your company. And what happens to your agents, your advisors,
Great
your
question.
RMs?
You've touched upon a question, Sonia, that I get asked every single day, right? Hey, will AI replace jobs? Will AI replace profiles,
And
roles?
this is a question across every industry.
Absolutely right. So really, see, at Axis Max Life, we have a very clear strategy on this. When we look at acquisition or distribution, I don't think AI will ever completely replace human beings. In fact, it should not, because in our country, first, as I said, the profile of customers is very varied. Trust and a human being representing trust is not going anywhere soon. Right. So it's not a question of a purely a non-advisor disappearance of offline channels. No, we don't foresee that at all. In fact, what we foresee is the companies that will win are the companies that have got the most AI-enabled advisors. Companies that are the most quote-unquote advanced in giving toolkits, in giving bots, in giving assessment helps, in giving product portfolio roadmaps in the hands of their advisors that are very specific to you as a consumer at the point of sale and underwritten at the point of sale, so that I don't need to make you wait for the end product to be delivered to you. Those distribution channels and those firms will actually excel. I definitely see a lot of core transactional repetitive work getting significantly reduced through an AI intervention. But then, as I said, it's more a question of those roles, instead of being transaction processors, will actually become data analysts. See, somebody has to constantly put those boundaries in place. Somebody has to teach that bot as well how to behave. Who are the best people to teach? Are the people who are doing that business. Yeah. The transactions, who are the people who are doing those transactions. They are the best people to train. So suddenly the role of transacting will change into a role of coaching, learning, building those bots, so that we drive the right impact. So in our world, I don't foresee a risk overall. When the dust settles down, I don't see a risk that people will not have jobs. Their jobs will transform, morph, change. Yes, it does place an onus on people to reinvent their skills in the workplace.
I was just about to say that, unless you reskill yourself, unless you upscale your, creativity, get more ideas, how to do things better and more efficiently,
right.
Then you don't have to be scared of.
See, we had many of these revolutions in place. This too shall pass. We will settle with the new normal, where the overall quality of jobs will uplift. And one thing which I feel personally, this is my personal feeling, Sonia, that people will get more time to their lives. When I look at the time that we spend today in our jobs doing things that are non-productive, that are less efficient, I really personally feel that AI will free up time in our lives to spend with our loved ones, to spend with things that matter more for us. That's definitely impact that I see through technology and AI coming our way.
And I hope people go for some fun activities too.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So let's move on to the ADROSONIC spotlight. And it's a live consultation, as you all know. Now I'm going to put an insurance problem on the table. And Mayank will tell us how AI will fix it. And then Manu will tell us whether that fix will fit in.
Sure.
So that's the problem. Millions of Indians who need insurance never buy it. Some don't understand it. Some don't trust it. Some believe they can't afford it. So if your mission was to use AI to close India's protection gap, what would you start?
I think we already touched a lot of points that Manu said. I will just, accumulate that.
Yeah.
So first is why the first challenge is awareness. Okay, nobody gets up in the morning and say that, hey, let me buy an insurance product. Just like, you open Amazon or, other aspect, and or you go and open your banking application as well. But insurance is something you don't get up with that mindset that I want to buy. So we need to increase the awareness that every member need to be protected, or every Indian household should have that protection in place. And as we are discussing on the life aspect, whether you protect your life, you protect your health for to face certain uncertainty. So that one place where I will start with, of the technologies like vernacular or all those to create awareness. So if I am a farmer in Bihar, or if I am a businessman in Gujarat, it is talking to me in my terminologies, not in insurance terminology, and making me understand why I need this insurance. That will be the first aspect. The second aspect we discuss is that insurance is a business of trust, and it's a relationship. And trust will take, then how I am using the AI to increase that trust. And which Manu mentioned that the onboarding, is smooth. So for example, if you go and you are constantly getting that, okay, this is the stage where you are in, and you that increases your trust with the speed, with the accuracy. Or even if you're talking to a human being who is kind of an interface, if the human being is ready to get the information. So when you give a call, and you might have experienced it many times, you are put on hold for a long, waiting time, or they're saying, oh, call get disconnected. Next time you call, you're repeating your same problem or asking the same query.
Very true.
That creates a lot of friction. So this friction will be reduced, because the moment you call, and it will see that, okay, you are calling, you will get your instant information. So that increases the trust. Once the trust goes up, it scales. And then the third point, especially from a context of India, is affordability. Which again, Manu touched base that go and look at the rural part. It's not that the insurance companies don't want to go and protect there, but it's the economics that does not work because of opening the center or appointing those agents and all. With AI coming in, you can reach those areas, and you need not to then invest in physical, infrastructure there, but digitally you can reach there. So that means you can reduce the cost and make it more affordable. So that's how I think, with the use of technology, creating awareness, increasing trust, and reducing the cost, making it accessible, we can, definitely solve this problem.
Think so?
Absolutely. See, just to summarize, acquisition, make sure we are able to give a very personalized value proposition to the customer, and only analytics, AI data can help make the proposition specific to what I want. Today, my information can be quote unquote sourced from the web, sourced from my social channels, sourced from many places on terms of what my behavior is, what my risk profile is. All of that can be leveraged to make sure that once we commit, AI helps in extremely speedy delivery of the product. So what puts off people, as very rightly said by Mayank, is any friction, any sort of a delay that happens in completing the transaction. That's where the big role that AI plays. And last but not the least, helps us keep the promise that if I buy this product for my security, for my future planning, the product should deliver what it committed to. Because unlike a regular product service, we buy today for a promise that will be kept 15 years down the line, 20 years down the line. This is a very unique industry where the purchase happens and the service delivery happens many, sometimes a decade, more than a decade later.
Or sometimes when you're not there.
Absolutely right. So how do you could ensure that that process is almost certain, speedy, right empathy? And these are the areas, each of these areas that I'm absolutely agree with Mayank that AI can make a huge transformation.
Like Mayank, you said, people don't have patience now. And also they want the shop to be open 24/7. Any moment they want, it should be, they should be able to get the thing that they want to buy. Anyway, so like insurance, as Manu said, insurance is a human promise. And insurance is bought, in moments of anxiety. And then it is collected probably in moments of grief. So you think AI can keep that promise?
I will not say that AI will, because the promise is ultimately, AI will definitely give you that enhancement, to make that, build that trust, because what we discussed, there are, because of the so many aspects that AI brings in, but ultimately it's who owns the accountability. AI will not be own the accountability with it. So the way I see is that it will give you it will amplify the trust, but it will make human more responsible to have that accountability with them, so that the trust can be enhanced. That's how I see. So ultimately, AI will make human more responsible.
The bot will do all your work, but when it comes to responsibility, someone else has to take it. Right?
See, the responsibility, unfortunately, and I believe very strongly, it has to be carried by us. Right? Technology is a purpose that we have built, and more importantly, I segregate the experience of our customers in two parts. One is the experience of the efficiency, which is through tax, which is through how quickly we are able to service and do things. The second is the empathy, and very rightly said, the moments of strife. Empathy, giving the confidence that we're doing the right thing. Sometimes you won't believe in India, especially with the lesser educated segment of customers. They even need sometimes help counseling. Here, what do I do with this money? Or what, I'm a widower, and what, my relatives are pressurizing me to write off the amount to certain specific places where I'm not sure whether I should do or not. I have to save for my children. You see some of those very emotional, deep, empathy-driven requests as well, which I believe human beings should do. So I do believe there's a part that is process, which technology and AI will solve. There's a part of empathy that, at least in India, I see that human beings will play a very, very critical role in making sure that the trust and the empathy is felt at the point of delivery of the promise.
And just to add, like, you might also have is that when you interact with a bot, right? You start interacting. At one point, you want to have the interaction with if it is going to that level where you need a specific answer. Maybe even in the telecom, when you interact, insurance is something like, when you are in grief, at that moment, you do want someone in person to have those conversation, and that person when comes, how that person will know what's your grief, what's your why, what are the points that is there to summarize or to talk to you, your context. That's where it's the beautiful, I will say, augmentation of human in AI that will enhance the trust. And that's why I said that it is more about making human more responsible, because you will go with the data on it and apply the empathy which only humans can apply, at least now.
At least till now.
We don't know the future, but at least now.
Perfectly. So technology plus without the empathy won't work, and with the empathy, probably it can tell you that a promise that you will be okay when things will not be okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much to both of you to join this conversation, and it was an amazing, very interesting conversation. Thank you so much. Manu.
Thank you, Sonia.
So much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayank.
Thank you.
And here's what my takeaway from this conversation is today. Insurance has always been India's most intimate financial promise, a bet that someone makes on your behalf that you will be okay even when things are not. What I heard today is that AI does not change that promise. It gives more people a chance to hold it. Once again, a big thank you to both of you. This has been TOI AIQ Talks with our knowledge partner, ADROSONIC. Before we go, if your organization is one which genuinely builds with AI, if you are turning pilot into production, reaching customers you couldn't reach before, making decisions faster and smarter than ever, we want to put a spotlight on you. Nominations are open for the TOI AI Quotient Awards this September, India's foremost platform for recognizing enterprises, startups, and leaders who are leading on AI. Head to the AIQ Awards microsite and nominate your organization today. The work you are doing deserves to be seen. We will see you in the next episode of TOI AIQ Talks. See you next time.